So, who's up for war with Iran? One person who isn't is Keir Starmer, and I, for one, make him right.
What I was not prepared to do on Saturday was for the UK to join a war unless I was satisfied there was a lawful basis and a viable, thought-through plan. That remains my position.
Pretty strong stuff from Keir there. An illegal war for which there is no thought-through plan. And that is the war in Iran, isn't it? I mean, it's pretty obvious. There shouldn't really need to be much discussion or debate about this, but it seems, unfortunately, that there is. You've got the right-wing press trying to encourage Starmer to get stuck in, to go in side by side with the Americans, with the Israelis, our natural allies, to take on big bad Iran. Yeah, Iran, this crazy country run by these nutjob mullahs who are just itching for an opportunity to destroy the entire world. Because that's the general narrative, right? You know, they want to develop these nuclear weapons, they want to blow everything up. They're Muslims, so they care more about death than they do life. Yeah, they all want to be martyred and they want to take everyone else along with us. Oh, and by the way, they hate the West and they hate the West way of life, so they just want to blow us up for that reason as well. We're the ones that are going to go to hell or whatever happens within the Islamic religion while they go off and enjoy life in paradise, right? It was something like that. That's what we're supposed to think, isn't it? Or at least that's what's supposed to underpin our attitudes when it comes to Iran and what is going on at the moment. But can we just put the narrative to one side for a second, and can we actually look at the cold, hard facts, the reality? So, Iran. Such a crazy regime, so nuts that they signed a deal with Barack Obama which stated that they would not pursue a nuclear weapon as long as sanctions that had been imposed on Iran at the time were removed. Everything was bumbling along. There wasn't really much talk about Iran, certainly not in America or the West more generally. It wasn't something that was seen as a national concern or a national issue. But then the deal was broken. And who broke it? That's right, it was those crazy Iranians. Oh no, actually it wasn't, was it? It was Donald Trump. He broke the deal, tore it up, said it was a terrible deal, but had nothing with which to replace it. Okay, so we skip into the future when Trump comes back to the presidency and the tensions are ramping up. Iran must not be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon, Trump says. And what do? They negotiate. Iran says, look, we don't want to develop a nuclear weapon. In fact, the Shah of Iran, before he was assassinated, of course, he actually put a fatwa against the idea of developing nuclear weapons because he said it was un-Islamic. So crazy, right? These Muslims are so crazy that they put a fatwa against something that had the capacity to cause such harm and devastation. Well, maybe he made a mistake because during these so-called negotiations, Trump went in and bombed Iran. And what did they supposedly bomb? They bombed their capacity to develop nuclear weapons. So that was June of 2025. So that's it. It's all done, right? I mean, there was no evidence that Iran was trying to develop a nuclear weapon. Plenty of people and rags will try and tell you otherwise. Look into it. There's no evidence for it. The IAEA, which is the International Atomic Energy Association, responsible for looking into these things, said there was no evidence that they were developing a weapon. In fact, the head of national intelligence in the United States, Tulsi Gabbard, also said the same thing. But anyway, Trump said, we'll bomb it. We've got rid of now all of their capacity to develop nuclear weapons. You know, we've bombed all the reactors. We've bombed all of their infrastructure. So now it's all sorted. And then we get to February of 2026, just a few days ago. And what happens? War in Iran. Why? Because they were thinking possibly one day in the future about maybe the slight possibility of perhaps having temerity to attempt to develop nuclear weapons. There's no evidence, of course. that they were developing nuclear weapons. In fact, according to the Americans' own narrative, they bombed all of their nuclear capacities just 9 months ago. But the strikes went in anyway. Khamenei, Iran's leader, is killed. A number of other members of the Iranian regime are killed. Innocent civilians are killed. A girls' school is bombed. Up to almost 200 casualties as a result of that. And we have war, we have devastation, we have suffering, we have misery. Some will say, oh, well, no, it's not actually about the nuclear capacity, because there are other reasons for war in Iran. Actually, you lefties, you terrible lefties, you should be celebrating this, because the Iranian regime was horrific. It was killing its own people. It's true, it was. Thousands of people were killed by the Iranian regime. No one knows exactly how many, because they don't release this sort of information to the press. It is a theocracy. Information is tightly held. People don't have rights, freedom of expression. Iran is not a great place to live for most people. I don't think anyone who is clear-eyed would pretend otherwise. But is the best way to free the people of Iran, to help the people of Iran live a better life, to bomb them, to bomb their country? Was there no form of diplomacy that could have been used? Could they not have done something to help the Iranian economy, perhaps? That tends to lead to a better standard of life. That tends to lead to improved living standards. But what is it the Americans were doing? From June up until now, they were doing everything they could to try and debase the Iranian currency. They had economic warfare going on against Iran. They don't care about the people of Iran. I think we should be pretty clear about that. So why are they doing this? Why is this happening? I think we have to look to a certain Benjamin Netanyahu, don't we? Someone who has said, he's confessed in his own words, he has dreamed about bombing Iran for 40 years. Imagine that is your dream. That is your great dream in life. Not to, I don't know, be responsible for world peace, to cure cancer, or just to live a nice life in peace and harmony. No, your dream is to bomb Iran, to go to war with Iran. And why does Netanyahu want to do this? Because he is, in short, a Zionist, a real dyed-in-the-wool committed Zionist. And what is it that Zionists want? They want Greater Israel. They want to take over the region of the Middle East. And the best way to take over the Middle East, you know, as a long-term project, this guy's been dreaming of it for 40 years, he's thinking about the long term, he's not just thinking about tomorrow, is to destabilize as many countries in the Middle East as possible so that they fall into chaos, fall into ruin. You recruit these Europeans, you know, European Jewry. There are people themselves, the former Prime Minister of Israel says they don't want to recruit any more of these African Jews anymore. They want to go for the pure stock, the European stock, to bring into Greater Israel. And they take over as much of the Middle East as they possibly can. You know, this is what is in the Torah or the Old Testament, Greater Israel. It covers basically what is today, you know, the modern Middle East, countries like Iran, in Iraq, and Syria, and Lebanon, and so on and so forth. Of course, we don't even need to talk about the poor Gazans or those in the West Bank, which they don't even call the West Bank. They call Judea and Samaria, because that's what it was called during the days of Greater Israel. These are committed Zionists. Zionists want to take over the Middle East. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not an anti-Semitic slur, because you don't have to be a Zionist just because you're a Jew. And you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist, by the way. Because this is the point. Because the unholy alliance of evil that exists right now between America and Israel is based upon Zionism. There are Christian Zionists who believe that the rapture, the second coming of Jesus, is going to occur when the Jews once again take over Israel. That's their belief, by the way. They talk about the Jews. I think it's much more helpful to talk about the Zionists. There are plenty of Jews who want nothing to do with this. But to be a Zionist, well, this is the ultimate commitment of Zionism. We're seeing it. It's the reason why Israel was so barbaric, so bloodthirsty in Gaza, and still are. Still the genocide goes on. Not allowing health equipment to get into Gaza. This is what's happening right now. But let's get back to Iran. Is Trump a committed Zionist? Trump is a committed Trump fan. That's all he cares about. Has Benjamin Netanyahu got something on Trump? Is Trump doing this because for him it's just a great escapade? He enjoyed going into Venezuela and kidnapping their president. He enjoyed bombing Nigeria. And now he gets to bomb Iran. He's been talking about bombing Iran for decades. So you've got a very stupid, deranged, senile old man in Trump who is pure evil, who is thinking about his own personal glory, or maybe deflecting from the Epstein files. And you've got Netanyahu, a committed Zionist, bloodthirsty, blood oozing out of that man, just wants more and more names on that death count, more and more Muslims, more and more of those non-Jews in the Middle East who must die in order for Greater Israel to continue to grow. And you've got Keir Starmer, who finally says, up with this I shall not put. No Winston Churchill, eh? Maybe not. Maybe it's a little bit better than that. Maybe finally Starmer realizes he needs to actually find some sort of a spine and some sort of moral guidance if he's going to continue as Prime Minister of this country. It makes sense for Starmer to take this position. It's what his base wants. Most people in this country are not supportive of war in Iran. And obviously he can see the parallels with Iraq as well. A horrible, unnecessary war which led to so much death and suffering. And he wants to avoid it. He's allowing his military bases to be used to attack Iran and also for defensive purposes with allies in the Middle East like Bahrain, and the UAE and others. But he's refusing to join the war. And for that, I commend him, and long may it continue. You see, sometimes in life, you have to wake up to realize that you have flaws, that you have problems. Has Starmer finally woken up and realized that the two greatest forces of evil that exist right now are those who call themselves allies, who we have called allies? I hope he has woken up. And I hope many other people wake up too. I see more and more people calling it as it is. I regard myself as one of them. Waking up and seeing reality. Because we don't want to continue to be on the side of evil. We want to be a force for something better than that. And the best way we can do that is to open our eyes to see the truth and to do something to show support for peace, justice, and decency. And what that involves right now is staying the hell away from Iran. Thank you for watching this video, guys. If you want to join the fight against fascism, please do like and subscribe. We all need to tell the truth. And that's what this is all about. It's about telling the truth. Who knows? Maybe eventually it might just set us free.